My doctor said they can never know we messed up this surgery in Spanish. He had no idea I was fluent. I woke up from gallbladder surgery with this sharp burning pain in my abdomen that felt nothing like what the doctor had described. My mouth was dry and my brain felt fuzzy from the anesthesia. I tried to speak, but my tongue wouldn't work right and only mumbling sounds came out. That's when I heard my surgeon talking to the nurse in Spanish. Did you count all the instruments before we closed her up? He said. The nurse hesitated and said, I thought you counted them. I'm a Spanish teacher and I understood every single word they were saying. The surgeon said something that made my blood run cold. One of the clamps is missing. I think we left it inside her. The nurse's voice got higher and she said, what do we do? He said, nothing. We can't open her back up now. It would look suspicious. Maybe it fell on the floor somewhere. I tried to sit up and tell them I understood, but the anesthesia had me pinned to the bed. My words came out slurred and wrong. The nurse looked at me and said in English, you're okay, just rest. Then she switched back to Spanish and said to the doctor, what if she gets an infection? He said, we'll blame it on her diabetes, pre-existing condition. They can never know we messed up this surgery. I tried to speak again and managed to get out, wait, but it came out garbled. They didn't even look at me. The surgeon said, give her more sedation. We need her quiet while we figure this out. The nurse pushed something into my IV and I felt myself getting foggier. I fought to stay alert, but my eyes kept closing. I could still hear them talking. Another doctor came into the recovery room and asked in Spanish, how did the surgery go? My surgeon said, small complication. We may have left an instrument inside, but we're handling it. The other doctor said, you need to tell her and do another surgery immediately. My surgeon said, and admit malpractice? No. We document that she has a history of infections because of her diabetes and hope it works itself out. The other doctor said, hope it works itself out? She could die. My surgeon said, then we say diabetic complications caused sepsis. It happens all the time. No one will question it. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. My throat felt paralyzed. The medication they gave me was making everything feel far away. The other doctor said, I want no part of this, and left. The nurse said, what if someone finds out? My surgeon said, no one will find out. She doesn't speak Spanish. She's half conscious. By the time she's alert enough to complain, we'll have her charts documenting all her pre-existing conditions. I was fighting so hard to move, to speak, to do anything. My mouth started working a little better, and I managed to say, I heard, but it came out as a whisper. The surgeon was right next to me and didn't hear. He said to the nurse in Spanish, start the infection protocol. Give her antibiotics now so when the infection from the clamp starts, we can say we were already treating her for something else. The nurse said, this feels wrong. He said, you want to lose your license? You counted the instruments. You signed off. You're just as responsible as I am. Her face went pale and she said, I'll get the antibiotics. The burning in my abdomen was getting worse. It felt like something sharp was cutting me from the inside. I knew it was the clamp. The anesthesia was wearing off more and I could move my hands now. I pressed the call button over and over. A different nurse came in and I tried to tell her, but my words were still slurred. Something wrong, I managed to say. She checked my vitals and said in English, everything looks fine. You're recovering well. My surgeon came back in and said to her in Spanish, she's complaining about pain. That's expected. Don't call me unless her temperature spikes. She nodded and left. He stood over me and said in Spanish to the original nurse, if she codes, we say it was diabetic shock, understood? The nurse said, understood. That's when my throat finally cleared and I could speak normally. I looked right at him and said in perfect Spanish, I understood every single word you said about leaving a clamp inside me and blaming my diabetes. His face went completely white. I switched to English and said, I want the hospital administrator in this room right now or I'm calling the police. The nurse started crying. My surgeon tried to say, you're confused from the anesthesia, but I cut him off and said in Spanish, you told her to document fake infection history. You told the other doctor you'd let me die and call it sepsis. Should I keep going? The hospital administrator came running when the nurse paged her. I told her everything while my surgeon stood there frozen. She called for an emergency scan and they found the clamp. I had emergency surgery an hour later to remove the clamp. Both doctors lost their medical licenses and the nurse was fired. I still have pain from the botched surgery, but at least the hospital settled my lawsuit for enough money that I'll never have to work again.